Good morning. Welcome to Kathy's Cute Creations. Today is week 5 of the Fort Worth Fabric Studios homemade mystery holiday quilt. And we're going to be making gingerbread blocks. So you will have downloaded this sheet here. That's the first sheet. Your second sheet looks like that. And then your third sheet, which shows you what it looks like right there. And then my fourth sheet is actually my material sheet. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Remember, for all those that are joining, my background is blue. Here's all my fabric laid out on my design board. Now, if this takes you more than one day to make it, don't panic. You can make it in sections, a couple days at a time, or as a matter of fact, you could even make it one page at a time if you wanted to. It's just going to be up to you. So let's go ahead and we're going to start. All right, we're taking the 5.5 by 4.5 inch background fabric and our largest grunge fabric, or whatever you're using for the gingerbread man block, gingerbread block, and then our 2.5 by 2.5 background. Now we're going to make a mark on the back of these, just like this, like that. Let me get it up there. There you go. We're going to mark them up because we're going to make snowball blocks. And if you've never made a snowball block, you're going to learn how to do it now. So let's go ahead and mark our squares first. Now to make these snowball, which is what this is considered, I mean, that's just another word for it. You're going to put one of these little squares in every single corner. You're going to sew it diagonally. Now, if you've put it this way, you know it's wrong because none of those marked lines are supposed to be up in that corner. Okay? We're going to sew it, cut off the excess, and flip it. Okay? And every corner will look like this. All right, so let's do that first. All right, so I've marked all my corners. I'm just going to get you started. You guys already know how to do all this. It's not going to be anything new. Started. And then you guys go ahead and chain stitch it. And we're going to end up making 3 of them. If you do any kind of starching, go ahead and get all that done ahead of time before you do any of it. And then you're going to want to do it to every single square you do, all your fabric. Don't just do it to one and then not do it to the rest, because then your sizes will be all off. Alrighty? And I use a 2.5 inch stitch, and I'm using a 12 inch universal needle. And I'm going to go ahead and do all these, and then I'll be back. When they're all done, you're going to cut the excess off. Excess meaning the fabric on this side. I put my ruler at 1/4 inch right across the sewing line, and then I just take off the excess. You want to do that for every single one so it looks like this. Then you're going to take them and you're going to iron open like that. Now you're going to take your other background fabric and you're going to sew it onto here and here, and then we're going to have 3 long strips. Keep in mind, you can either do one at a time, so that when you're finished, you'll have one completed block, or you can chain stitch and do 3 at it, so that they'll all be done at the same time. I'm chain stitching off the camera, but I am showing you how I'm doing the one. So I'm just going to go ahead and go down all the right sides, because I'm right-handed, so that's usually what I choose. I marked one piece of the fabric to hold it. Nothing needs to be marked. We're not worrying about any kind of tips or anything. And then just continue. And then we'll come back when all the right sides are done, and then just do the left side. Alrighty, so these are considered the head rows. So we have the 3 rows made for the head. Now we're going to do the arms. Okay, so I pulled out the fabrics I needed. I went ahead. These are going to end up sewn together. This is going to be put on together. So I went ahead and I pinned it and got it ready. And then when this is done, I'll sew that after I sew these, because you know you're going to have to cut off the excess and open them up. And then I will put all of it together. All right, let's do that. And this is going to be one block, and we're going to make 3 of them like this. 3 strips, excuse me, not blocks. And this is, again, the arms row. Alrighty, so let's begin with these teeny weeny little blocks. Alrighty. They're not going to be that hard to sew. And the 6 are actually going, or not the 6, actually it's going to be 8 of them, are all going on the same kind of fabric. So, like I say, go ahead and do a chain stitch if you want. Now go ahead and chain stitch these. But if you're going to do all of your blocks and everything together, then I would just chain stitch them all. I'm just doing one at a time for y'all. Hopefully my fingers aren't in the way. I just don't want to lose my tips on here. Go ahead and flip it over, do the next side so that you'll have it all done. And then we'll come back. I put the blue, I went ahead and I trimmed them. And I put my blue on here. I'm going to do it right in a row. So I'm going to go ahead and do these two next. Okay, so while I was looking at these blocks, the color of this tan here for the gingerbread, back when we made little gingerbread cookies, our molasses was dark. We didn't use the medium or the light colored molasses. And depending on your molasses color, that'll make your cookies either darker or lighter. Because our cookies were really a dark brown. They were almost black. The molasses was so dark. And that'll change the color. So if you have to use a darker color than this brown, this light brown here, grunge, that's fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew this onto this and this onto this, because I can change stitch those two, which will make it a little faster, and then I can put them on this. Felt bad when I was editing last week's video and my camera was slowly sliding, which I hadn't even noticed it. Which it does happen. Now, it hasn't happened yet this time around. There we go. I'm going to iron them open. Alright, so now I'm just sewing one end and then I'll stop and sew the other end. So now you should have all the arm rows done. They should look like this. We're going to set them aside with the heads, and then we're going to do the legs. Okay? Now we're going to lay out a set of legs. So we need 2 J's. Remember, J is this color here. And then we're going to need 2 of these and 2 of these. All right? So let's just go ahead and we're going to chain stitch these, and it'll give us 1 set of legs. Now keep in mind, these are not just specifically the legs. These are pieces of building the leg, okay? They're just calling it the leg strips, just so you know. Because, you know, gingerbread, their legs are spread out just like their arms are spread out. So probably going to be a little tricky sewing, but we're going to figure it out. It's not going to be hard. We're not going to make anything hard. This is beginner friendly. Alright, flip your fabric over and put the other piece on. And then we'll have these 2 done and we'll do the other ones. And then we'll be on to page 2. So if this is normally where you take a break, go ahead, take your break, do whatever you got to do, and then come back. I'm trying to think, this took, how much time did this take? Well, filming it took a little more time than it would if you did it on your own. So it's probably about an hour sewing just to get the first page done if you're not filming it. Okay, all the legs are done, so let's flip to the second page and see what we're going to do now. All right, so what they want you to do is fold this fabric in half, right sides together, and then you're going to measure at a 45-degree angle, and I feel like mine's not perfect, like this. Let's see, it's got to be on the line like that, so that you can cut it across there, okay? Now, if you want to, instead of doing it this way, which is the way the directions are, and you're scared to do it this way, then take your fabric, because we're gonna put it at a point, fold it in half, and then come back on itself so that you've got a point, flip it over, come back on itself again, so you have another point, all the way up to the edge, and you can trim those. And then you'll end up with your fabric looking like this. This is why I've got it folded. Now it says the next piece. Now I'm using the 45-degree angle ruler. I'm going to show you what I did. So I folded it in half. I went ahead and ironed it. Pressed it down here so it's nice and pressed. Put my ruler on it. Just like that. And cut straight up. Like that. And there you go. Make sure your short end is up here on the left and the long end's on the right. It'll be like this when you get done. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and do all of mine. Now for those of you that are wondering, how do I know that's the 45-degree angle? It actually says it right on your ruler. And make sure it says 45. Don't have it on the 60-degree, because that'll really mess it up. It's got to be on the 45-degree angle. Okay, and this is the way I cut it because I'm right-handed, so I lay it down and I cut it that direction. When I cut, it goes on the fabric like this, and you cut up here. Okay, let's go on to the next step. All right, so here's what I did. I took my point, my fabric. I marked 1/4 inch from the edge so I would know where it is. Just take your, I went from the 1/4 inch, just like that right there. Here's my 1/4 inch right here. Take my ruler and just marked it like this so I know where the 1/4 inch is. So that's a 1/4 inch. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I did mark it. Here's my 1/4 inch. I took my project. Now, my fabric is either side, so, you know, don't mark it on the right side because you're going to have to flip it over like that because you're going to put your right sides together. So be mindful of that. And then I just took it up here at the top, and then I just started pinning it. Just like this. I'm not doing any kind of overlap or anything else. This is the way I'm going to do it. And so what I did was I tested it. So first, I went ahead and I pinned it down here. Go up with my 1/4 inch right there. Okay. I put a pin in it just to hold it. And then I wanted to test to make sure that when I flipped it over, so I just pretended this is my 1/4 inch right here. Went like that with my pin so that I could take this and flip it so I can see how that's going to end up folding over. Because you're going to have a little tip off of that. Okay. So that's what I did. And so I pinned the end down here. I mean, you pin it as many times as you want. I'm just pinning it in the fold where the other fabric met, just so it doesn't flip over. And that's it. And then I'm just going to sew it from one end to the other, put it on both sides. Now go ahead and chain stitch yours from either end. It doesn't make a difference. Just make sure that you're going to do it 1/4 inch. Alrighty, just turn it around and do it the other way. So see, when you get finished, you're going to have this, because this is going to be trimmed off. You're going to trim that edge off, and you're going to trim this edge off. All right? That's the only reason for the overlap of the 1/4 inch. Otherwise, it's going to look like that. So go ahead and do all of yours right now. Okay, it looks like a rocket to me. I'm just saying, that's what it looks like. Looks like it has to have fuel coming out of here, and it's a rocket heading out. But this is the way they're all going to end up looking. So just go ahead and do all of your legs, right and left. And I just made the one, so I'm going to do all my left-hand sides, then I'll come back and do all the right sides before I do any trimming, okay? All right, so you should have all of these leg sections done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put them together. So it wants you to trim off the corners, and the reason for that is because if you notice on your little design board or whatever, you're going to have 6 of these little 1.5 by 1.5 inch squares left, because we're going to put them on the corners of each set of legs. But first we're going to put the legs together and trim them up. So let's do that first. Okay, so angle them this way. Put the points, remember when you did your 45-degree cut, put them towards each other. These are the same exact legs, and we're going to trim off the bottom. Okay, so the block is supposed to measure 7.5 across the top and 6.5 this direction. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to square them up. Okay, so I feel like I should say welcome back, because I took a whole week off before I started doing these blocks. So this is Sunday. We already did the film for today, got up, so you know all about the problems with the blocks and everything. So first off, let me show you the part that doesn't have enough fabric on it that I have to add fabric to. So it's that so-called rocket. Alrighty, so this is the piece right here, and this is not long enough. Now, here's the one that I did so you can see it. And it's that amount of fabric that I don't have when I go to make it longer, wider. This is the piece I need. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew a strip. And all I did was cut these strips out. Just cut them out like that. And then I'm going to take this and add this to the bottom. Just like that. And then I'm going to come back so I can finish these. Now, when it's trimmed up, it's supposed to look like this. This is the bottom of the legs. All right. So what I'm looking at, the first thing that I looked at was matching up this right here, which is the crotch of the gingerbread. Okay, so this is what I did. I made sure this was even. Then I trimmed the top, and it only needs to be trimmed a little bit because you want to make sure that when you get ready to sew it together that these match. All right, that's mainly what you're doing. So let me show you what I did. Here's how I laid them down there. Here's the part that I added because it was too short, and so I'm matching up here, and as you can see, only a little bit on this is off. So that's what I'm going to trim, is the right one, not the left one. Now, I got the fabric right here. And I laid down here. It is actually lining up. And I've got it on the corner, okay, of the fabric. And then all I did was come up here and met that fabric. And there it's tucked in. And it's just this little bit of sliver right here that needs to come off. So I'm just going to take this little bit right here off, just like that. And then that should be straight along there. Okay, so that's the top part that's done correctly. All right, now make sure if you're going to have the leg, the little trim on the pants here, because I don't know if this is a cup that's rolled up or what it is for this gingerbread, okay, icing or whatever. You can have these different colors if you wanted them. I'm making them the same color. Okay, now I just used my straight ruler for that. So make sure that you look at your directions. And I've got my mat set up here. All right. This way it wasn't moving around and I wasn't shifting it or anything. And now based on the directions, which is what you're looking at here on the top of the page. So you're looking at this here and it's telling you that the width of the leg is 7.5 inches. The height is 6.5. Now, this is what I did. I took my ruler, and now I have a 10-inch ruler that I bought, and it's Creative Grids. This is my ruler, okay? So I could take my ruler, and on this side, because I know that the top is squared up now, I can pull it apart a little bit here, keeping them so that I see which is left and which is right. Put my ruler down. Okay, now I'm just measuring to see if this here is straight. I already know the top is straight, so I'm just checking to see, and it is based on the lines. That's what I'm looking at, is the lines here. Let's see here. It looks like it's a little bit off, so let me trim it, because I'm trying to get it as straight as I can. Let me line this up here. You know, it doesn't need to be perfect because when you sew it, that's going to help you out a lot. All right. So what I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to go this way with it. Now we know that this is the 6.5. Okay. So if I take this and I turn it upside down and use this as my line and cut the excess off, because that's what I've got to do. And I know I've got to go 6.5 up and down. This is the up and down. It kind of throws you by the way it looks. But I take my ruler on the 6.5. And you can always trim it if you need to. And I've got it 6.5. Just like that. And I'm going to make this piece right like that. And I'm going to cut this 6.5 because it's 6.5 for the length. So just take it and go 6.5. Put it right there. Do that. And now this piece has to be 7.5. So we're going to turn it this way, because this is my edge that's getting attached to that. So we'll go 7.5 with my ruler, just like this. And I'm going to trim up There we go, like that. And then I'm going to trim this off after I get it cut though. I have lined it up here and I've lined it up there. And I've gone along this here. So I've only got a little bit to trim up here, but I want to go ahead and get this edge straight. Like that. And then I know this is going to be 7.5. So I'll take the 7.5. All I did was flipped it. And I'm lining it up now. Right like that. So let me see if you can see it in the camera. This little bitty bit needs to come off. I've got it on the line there. I have it on the line here. And I have it on the line here. Just like that. Okay. And then all I got to do is trim up this little bit. That's it. And that's one done right there. Oops. So that's one. Okay. And that is the bottom down here. Okay. Alrighty. And keep in mind, this is the left side of the leg. Even though I've got it on the right. Remember, I've turned my mat over. This is the left side. That's the right side. So let's cut the right one now. Remember, it's going to go like this. So here's our right side. And we've got to do 6.5 up and down, 7.5 right and left. So the very first thing we're trying to do is we're trying to line it up 7.5 because this is the width, okay? So I'm lining up my lines. I'm off a little bit up here, which is fine. We'll fix that in a minute. We just want to make sure that it's all on there. That's all. And if you got to re-iron yours, go ahead. So that's the 7.5 that direction. So the width is 7.5. And this is going to be the 6.5. And I can trim up this corner over here. We got it 6.5. Okay. I got a little bit to trim off that. I should have used my turning mat, but I didn't. Lordy, lordy, but that's okay. Let's just pick up the mat and we'll turn it ourselves. Okay. There we go. And all I got to do is get a little bit off the top here. Like that. And there's my second one. And here's these two right here. Just like that. Okay. We'll set them aside. And then all we got to do is the last one. So go ahead and do that. If you want, you can use a straight ruler. Let's see here. And as a matter of fact, you could even use more than one ruler if you want. If you're the kind of person that you feel safer with 2 rulers, then use 2 rulers. Okay, go like that and line it up. Okay, oops, I need to iron this. Hold on one second. Now, if you feel like you need to use a ruler like this and mark it, this is another way you can do it. So you can get it up at the top. I would come down just a little bit since you're not squared up. Take your 6.5, which is, on this case, it's the white right here, and mark on the right and the left. So you would mark over here on this side, and you would mark on this side the 6.5, which is up here, not the black numbers now, it's the white one. So you do this here. And then if you wanted to, you can take your ruler and lay it on the 2 lines, if this is the way that you feel more comfortable, and then hold it down and cut it off, and then you'll have 6.5 inches. Okay? If you want to use this kind of a ruler. It's going to be up to you. But go ahead and finish doing your last 2, and then I'm going to go ahead and we're going to join them. Now the next step is to take your little squares, put them on the left and the right of each one before you sew these blocks together, because these are going to be the same color as your background color. See that? It'll show up here and there on every single one. and that's your 1.5 inch. So you should have 6 of them so that you've got 2, 4, 6. Let's sew those next. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, you're going to need to mark them just like that. And then when we lay them down, we're going to lay them like that. And then we're going to sew them, and then we're going to take off the excess and flip them over like that. You can chain stitch them. You can do them one at a time. If you want to pin it, you can, but I don't think you're going to need to because it's not going to be slipping around any. I'm not going to pin mine at all. I'm just going to sit them on here and sew them. Hopefully my hands are not in the way. I'll get a little thing here. There we go. There we go. And just do all of yours. And then we're going to have all those feet on. Now before you go any further, go ahead and cut all these little ends off before you iron them. I mean, you could iron them if you wanted to, but just take off the ends, and then we will iron these open like that. So do that to all of your blocks. Now we want to pair them all up. So I've got this one folded on this one, same color, and we're going to match up right here along that line. If you want to nestle it and go that way with each one, you can do that. You can nestle them like this to keep it even. If you would like to, you can do that. All you got to do is just iron this one the opposite direction and nestle it up like that if you're worried about your seams meeting and the bulkiness, and go ahead and pin them. So that's all you got to do. And that's where you would be putting your pin in. And I always put one up here at the top, but not too close to the top because my machine doesn't like it at the top. And I'll match the bottom, and then I'll just slowly sew it 1/4 inch all the way, and you want to do all 3 of them like that. Okay, so now we have 3 rows. We're going to put it together to make our one block. So we're going to attach the head to the arms to the legs. Let's do that next. Alrighty, so I've come back because, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. I sewed the wrong sides together. Now, when I say the wrong sides, when I got done, I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the picture, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. The triangles on the top are supposed to be bigger than the triangles on the bottom. And so I had it sewed wrong. I had it so that the long side was downward and the short side was that way. So I took them all out, and probably y'all already saw it that I did it wrong, but if you didn't, that's fine. And now I'm going to put them together. So we're going to start with the head, the body, and then the bottom, and we'll do one to begin with. Alrighty, let's get this bottom half to the middle so we can get this finished. Now for all of those people that just cannot tackle this block and they're just like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to make some extra blocks or whatever. You do know that you can actually applique a gingerbread onto a square, your background square, and in this case it would be the green, or if you're using your own stash, whatever color that you got, it'll look just as good. Just draw your little gingerbread man. Actually, you can get one off of Pinterest or get one online. They got a whole bunch of the pictures. You can trace that off of your computer, your phone, your tablet, whatever, and then just put it on there. That's another way to do it. I've done that on some projects before where I didn't want to do it. As a matter of fact, I didn't even finish that oh my gosh, what's the name of the that last mystery that I did that had those beetles on it. I never did even get that square done, and I think I'm gonna get me some beetles offline and applique them on the square. I'm not even gonna bother. It'll end up being one of these blocks like this where it's real hard to figure it out and everything. And you know what? Right now, I just don't have the time for that. I don't even have the time to get that mystery quilt done. I'm so behind on everything. It's just unbelievable. I never thought I'd get so behind before. There's our cute little gingerbread man or cookie or whatever. And he turned out pretty good. All right, go ahead and sew up your other two and then we'll be finished with this. I didn't show you how I pinned this. And so what I do is always pin on the left, then I'll pin on the right, then I'll pull a little taut, pin it right in the middle, and then I'll just start on one side and work it with pinning it and pinning it. That's all I ever do when I get to pinning, okay? That's, to me, is the easiest instead of starting on one end and just pin it all the way to the other. This way it'll be in the middle. Okay, there we go. We got all three of them done. They're absolutely beautiful. They're gigantic. They'd be big enough to make a pillow, but they're really, really nice. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and next week is actually wrapping it up and assembling the entire thing. So I hope you guys like this video. Make a comment if you would like. Subscribe if you haven't yet so that you can get notifications. All my YouTube videos are free. They don't cost any money. I don't have anything going on other than just the videos. So I will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.